See, when it comes to this whole EV ecosystem, there is a lot talked about saying charging infrastructure is a issue. There is a gap. Charging does not have a proper solution yet. But for the large portion of the market, which is the two-wheeler and three-wheeler, the charging is a very simple exercise, right? Can you shed some light on how the two-wheelers and three-wheelers are being charged today?
Okay, most of the OEMs, those who are manufacturing two-wheeler and three-wheeler, are using off-board charger. When I say off-board charger, I mean to say the charger is not a part of a vehicle. It is almost equally, you can understand, from the like laptop charger or maybe mobile charger. So it is a off-board charger, which is just separate from the vehicle. When we use charger, when the vehicle is stationary, as a standard basic understanding, right? When the charger is in motion, we don't charge it, right? So it's a discharge. The time we use the vehicle, it's a two-wheeler or three-wheeler, it's a discharge. But when it's stationary, then we charge it. So that is the basic. Now, when it comes to a challenge side, what actually challenge those who are an operator for two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or maybe individual customer? Uh, Four-wheeler dynamics are entirely different. So let's talk about first two-wheeler and three-wheeler. I personally don't see a charging as an issue in a specifically two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment. When it comes to a consumer segment or maybe individual users. When it comes to a B2B case where there is a fleet operator, those are managing a fleet of 200, 500, or maybe thousands of fleet, they might have a challenge of a charging because charging infra is required. Charging infrastructure is all about managing the energy. It is not all about power electronics. Design development of a charger is a power electronics. When it comes to a charging, it's all about energy management. If you understand the energy, its management, you can easily manage the charging infrastructure and set up the stations and equipments. There are a lot of companies are already into this kind of a business. Those who are helping peoples or individuals or maybe OEMs or B2B to set up the charging infrastructure. Because they understand the energy management. We are also one of the people who help people and help them to understand the energy management, its need, and how to mitigate the risk. Because our grid is something which is not very stable, and it's also very very place to place. So infrastructure, when it comes to infrastructure, it's a quite wide subject. But still, if you see the key parameter, one is supply or maybe tap point where you are tapping the electricity. That's one. Then how you are distributing and managing it based on your own need, the kind of infrastructure you've been set up, it's AC charging stations or DC charging stations, and what kind of fleet you are managing or what kind of infra you are developing. So it's a quite like subjective things to be discussed. But in a layman language, I can say if you understand the energy management, you can manage it easily. That's not a very challenge. The second biggest point which has been into a part of discussion about the range anxiety. This is one of the concerns for the many of the people, is that really a range anxiety into the vehicle of a two-wheeler or three-wheeler. I actually don't perceive the thought there is a range anxiety in two-wheeler, three-wheeler segment, because if you see a good quality vehicle, I won't like any name, I will not like any OEM's name, but there are OEMs, those who are claiming and providing a vehicle who can run 100 kilometer or close to 100 kilometer in a single charge. When I say in a single charge, you can run a vehicle close to 100 kilometer, I think that solves by default range anxiety. If you again segregate the two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment, the average running of a three-wheeler is close to 80 kilometers, 78, 80 kilometer, right? Which has been tried and testified and validated by the various government agency and the individual agency and the private agency. So if I take an average running kilometer of a three-wheeler is close to 80 kilometer, and when it comes to a two-wheeler segment, it's again there is further segregation. One is operators, those who are food delivery people or medicine delivery people, or those who are working on a logistics side. Other the consumer segment. Consumer segment is like if you look at the average running of a per kilometer, you see two-thirds of the consumer are falling down under 15 kilometer, average 15 kilometer. I repeat it again. It is not more than 15 kilometer averagely per day. That means close to 500 kilometer per month. That is the most of the consumer segment falls in. Now you tell me, if your vehicle is giving a mileage of 100 kilometer in a single charge and your average range is close to 15 kilometer, do you have range anxiety? So answer is no, straightforward. So I don't see any range anxiety in a two-wheeler, three-wheeler segment. It's a myth which has been, I mean, I don't know how it is comes to the people mind, has been floated to the market. Four-wheeler dynamics are entirely different. So now there is a vehicle of the good OEMs, those who are claiming 300 or 350 kilometer or maybe 400 kilometer of a range on a single charge, and it also I think solve the up to an extent the range anxiety problem. Intercity can be a problem in few cases where there is not enough amount of a charging infrastructure has been established on the highways, which government is doing their part. There are a lot of private companies are also coming up very quickly and setting up the charging infrastructure on the highways and the major highways for sure. To start with, government is also pushing it a lot to set up the charging infrastructure. Government got their own guidelines to build up a public charging infrastructure across the nation. So, I mean, things won't happen overnight, that's for sure. Everybody is doing their own part of work. And when it comes to a four-wheeler segment also, if you have a mileage of 400 kilometer in a single charge, I seriously don't see its range anxiety. The company called like all over kind of a company, they also have average running of a 200 kilometer in a day, right? So if you see, if you charge your vehicle once in a day, overnight charging kind of a situation, and you have a 300 and 400 kilometer of a mileage, do you have really range anxiety in intracity? I don't think there is a problem. In a case of intercity, yes, there is a situation where, with reference to the specific case, I'm not saying it's anxiety is not there in case of a four-wheeler. If you're traveling 1,000 kilometers from one to another point, yeah, there would be you might not need a charging station and the charge point where you can charge your vehicle on the way to reach to your destination. And which is like coming up very quickly and fast. Major highways are already covered or under development, where you see in like 6 months to a year time, you have a major charging stations has been set up in the major highways across the nation, on the national highways, etc. So I think it's more kind of a myth for me than a reality. Range anxiety. A two-wheeler segment is covers 80% of the market on automobile side, which is phenomenally high. And the government also do expect there is a fast transition is going on of a conversion from IC to EV for a two-wheeler and three-wheeler, and everybody is expecting to at this 60-70% on a higher side. Maybe if I become more optimistic, it would be close to 80% in the next 5 years. So you realistically say that 20 million vehicle of sold every year. I'm talking about two-wheeler only. 20 million means 2 crore vehicles, right? If I see a 5-year projections, it would be a 10 crore vehicle from starting today next 5 years. If I take an average conversion rate of a 20% each year, so 20% of 2 crore is almost 40 lakh vehicles, right? It would be converting every year from IC to EV. And next 5 years, see, there would be close to 3 crore vehicle would be on the road, which are already converted from IC to EV. So it's a huge business and market opportunity for any individual, starting from a charger manufacturing company to the charging solution provider to EV manufacturer to battery manufacturer or maybe powertrain. So I think we are getting into the big business volume where there is ample amount of opportunity for anybody to come and join the this revolution and join this industry. And we are the people who always advocate and help people to come and join and help them to understand what is essential, what is don'ts and do's and don'ts, because do's and don'ts are not available on the Google. You have to learn on the ground when you start working. So we are where we always advocate and talk about do's and don'ts, and it's not about right or wrong. It's all about how do you want to get into the things. And everybody, there are various business model. I can speak on the business model also. There's no problem. But the one business model cannot suit to everybody, right? So everybody has to find their own niche. End of the day, when you want to be the part of the whole revolution and the part of the industry, because everybody has their own strengths and limitations.